Twitch viewers, stand by. We're getting on to YouTube here. It's taking just a moment or two to get going, and want to make certain that everybody is online and able to see what's going on here. It is Thursday night. Things are very quiet, a lot warmer, unfortunately, today. We'll take a look at the almanac page and see what we had in the way of high temperatures. It is, again, a beautiful almost end of the week. Father's Day weekend is coming up, and we should see some very hot temperatures all the way on through. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to be talking about the tropics, which in about the last 48 hours have become very active. We do not have any specific storms taking place, as in organized storms. We have about 3 areas of investigation, and one of those in the Gulf is standing the greatest potential of maybe becoming something stronger. Maybe the first tropical storm of the season. It's a little too early to tell for right now, but definitely has that potential going on. We're also, again, looking at the possibility of seeing some very warm conditions as we go into the rest of the forecast for tonight. So we may see, again, that problem out there. For those of you who are just tuning in, I just realized that YouTube has the old information on it on the date. This is, in fact, the 13th, the date at the bottom of your screen near the Weather Overtime logo. Apologies for that. We'll get that fixed in post-production there. But you are live and watching News 12's Weather Overtime from downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Anna, keeping you updated with what is going on with the forecast across the area. Again, for the next couple of days, this is going to be our biggest story with the temperatures heading upwards. We'll talk more about that here in just a little bit. Amateur radio, if you'd like to get involved in that, there's an opportunity to learn more. Plus, there is a new forecast tool that is designed to give a lot of lead time to what goes on when severe weather hits. We'll talk about that from the National Severe Storms Laboratory coming up in just a little bit. But let's go ahead and get started. Almanac page, official high temperature 92 today. Came within 7 of a record high, about 20 degrees below or above our last record low temperature, which hasn't been broken since 1903. 87 and 67 is where we should be. Nothing to show in the way of rain gauge activity, so dry and dusty in the rain gauge, and we are behind for the month and for the year. Could be heading for some more wildfire dangers in the next several days and weeks. We'll talk about that coming up here relatively soon. It was an ugly situation down into around Florida, Alligator Alley, and portions of southern Florida, picking up some 8 to 18, even over 20 inches of rainfall recorded in portions of the area just off the Miami coast. That right there is a 1 in 1,000 year event taking place. Now, does that mean that we are going to see no more events like this for the next 999 years? No, it just means that that's how rare these things can be. But they could set up again and happen again tomorrow, depending on what the conditions are, and you could have another 1 in 1,000 year event going on. So again, the odds taking place, from what we can see, this was part of that tropical system that is now moving up the East Coast and could be a problem for vacationers relatively soon. We'll get onto that coming up here in just a little bit. We're about 10 before 10 Eastern time on Thursday, and temperatures ranging from the low 70s to the low to mid 80s right before 10 o'clock, and we're still seeing the potential of some much warmer conditions heading our way from out west. How much warmer are we talking? Well, we'll get into that coming up here in just a little bit. Downtown, as I drove back to work tonight, the game was in its last inning as the Lookouts were taking on the Biscuits. Not too sure how well the game turned out. Rick Nyman will have more on that coming up on sports. That's the Bailey's Heating and Air camera from downtown looking at AT&T Field. Remnants of sunset and also that haze layer of pollution seen down toward the horizon as we're looking slaunch-wise across the atmosphere, where the atmosphere is very thick here as it curves over that portion of the edge of the planet. And I'm not saying flat Earth, I'm saying that as it curves over that round portion right there, we're looking through the thickest part of the atmosphere as that kind of bunches up right there. And we see a lot more haze and a lot more humidity in the air. And we're also picking up a lot more pollutants, which is pretty typical for this time of the day. Plainview outdoor advertising camera looking back there. Remnants of sunset, beautiful view looking west across Lookout Mountain on the Patriot concrete camera. All of these cameras, I should mention, are available on the EPB Fiber Optics WeatherCam network, which you can access through our website at the bottom of your screen, wdef.com/weather. Chattanooga Red Wolves Stadium, 2475, a pretty good backup here earlier thanks to rush hour traffic. So far, construction not causing that backup on 75 North to 24 West, and everything else in all directions at 2475 moving along quite nicely. The Speedy's Total Car Care camera, a few folks out and about on the footbridge and in Coolidge Park looking across the Tennessee River toward AT&T Field with the lights lit up quite nicely for this Thursday, very quiet and decently warm evening. And the view from the area around the Chattanooga Zoo looking off toward Erlanger Hospital, toward the northwest. Again, a little bit of sunset light left over here. This used to be the Chattanooga Zoo Ice Cream Safari webcam, but as of right now, if you didn't get your tickets, you are out of luck because the Ice Cream Safari is now sold out. Very good news for the Chattanooga Zoo. Glad to hear that that is in fact the case, that so many people have bought the tickets that they basically have sold out at this time. Temperatures remain quite toasty at the airport, mid-80s. Not exactly overpoweringly hot at this point, but that's one of the warmest temperatures we've had at nearly 10 o'clock in the last several months, since about September or October, somewhere in there. So for right now, very quiet conditions, and again, decently warm. We'll continue to monitor for what we're going to be looking for in the way of heat coming up in the next few days. We do have a little bit more moisture taking place. It's not much, but we are seeing a little bit more heading in. We've got high pressure north of us and low pressure, that storm system down to the south. Both those systems are working together to push the moisture a little bit closer to us. So that's why we have a little bit more sultry conditions, and we'll continue to see that throughout the course of the next several days. Little, if anything, is going to be changing over the next few days. This is pretty much what we call persistence forecasting, because little, if anything, is going to be going on that's going to be changing anything. Now, we might see the potential of some rain next week, but that is a very slim chance to think about anything like that for right now, but we'll talk more about that in just a little while. Currently, high pressure, well in control, sitting right over southeastern areas of Tennessee, northeastern Tennessee, I should say. We're in southeastern Tennessee. Again, we've got that area of high pressure and area of low pressure working together to push the moisture onshore to the southeast United States. And then we've got this next cold front coming our way, which is going to be wandering through the area, but it's that area of high pressure that is sitting right close to the News 12 viewing area that's kind of pushing back toward the northwest and pushing that front so it can't make a straight run into all that moisture. So as this front tries to make its way southward, it's going to run into this area of high pressure. It's not going to wash it out, but it is going to take a lot of the punch away from any energy that could develop anything in the way of showers and thunderstorms taking place. So again, chances of rainfall pretty much paltry to none. High pressure stays over the area for tonight. Lows in the high 60s to low 70s. Mid to upper 90s across some sections of the area tomorrow for Friday afternoon. That front slowly makes its way into the area Saturday morning. Lows only in the high 60s to low 70s. And then we get into the afternoon on Saturday, and that is where the worst of the temperatures. This front is basically not even worth mentioning because there's not going to be anything really for it to do with high pressure bracketing it on either side. So it looks like the computer is calling for maybe some triple-digit temperatures, Atlanta into South Carolina, and close to that in southern Mississippi, central portions of Alabama. That is where we could be seeing the potential very hot conditions. Mid-90s possible here, and then into Sunday morning, Father's Day, high 60s, low 70s, no sign of any cooling weather coming on through. By Sunday afternoon, the computer starts to throw in a few showers to the east of Chattanooga, maybe some thunderstorms, but notice how dry it is around that, and this computer's model system does share the trait of throwing in moisture in a very dry atmosphere. It sees any potential for moisture and says, oh, that looks like a good place for rain or thunder. I have very big hesitancy about saying anything for rain on Sunday. Now, as we go toward Monday, notice that Sunday evening, we really start to see more chances of rain heading back up this way. And by Monday into the afternoon period, that's where we really start to see more potential of some showers, better potential in the Mississippi Delta and down south of the Mid-South. That is where we could be seeing a lot of issues with maybe some problems traveling, maybe some outdoor activities. So far, anything that I've been able to see is not including a possibility of severe weather at any point in the course of the next several days. So that looks to be some very good news. If that changes, we will let you know, but for right now, we're just not picking up any potential of that. The big weather story, again, is going to be the above normal temperatures. The very high probability is going to be well back to our north and east, and that means the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, and into around the New England area. That is where we could see a lot of changes taking place. Now, at this point, I don't see anything in the way of records falling for us here in Chattanooga or the Tennessee River Valley. It's possible. We'll keep an eye on that, but we could give some of those record highs a run for their money. I think especially on Saturday, that's where we're going to see the worst of the worst activity. We'll take a look at the records as we go into next week and see just how likely something like that is. Beautiful view over Lake Chickamauga, almost like glass at this time. Winds are fairly light and variable. Well, a few folks out on the water for tonight, heading on down to the south and to the west, and the constellations coming out nicely. Leo the Lion just beginning to come into view with that bright star Regulus up to the west, so nice to be able to see that. Again, all these cameras on the EPV Fiber Optics WeatherCam network. Next several days, Flag Day is Friday. Tomorrow, temperatures expected in the low to mid-90s, and then staying in the high 90s. Looks like, again, through the weekend into next week, mid to high 90s. So Father's Day, hot. Monday, World Day to combat desertification and drought, mid-90s. We might see the potential of some showers and thunderstorms Monday into Tuesday, but we're talking about a 10, 15, 20% chance at best. Not that much going on. That might knock our temperatures down into around the lower 90s. But again, I just really can't call the lower 90s cooler. Less hot? Maybe. That, again, is something else. The English and language teachers out there might be able to call me on the carpet for that one. But again, for right now, I'm going to say less hot instead of cooler because this ain't cool. And again, apologies to the teachers out there for using the word ain't. Into Juneteenth, next week, we should be seeing the potential of temp numbers back in the mid-90s, staying there, and any chance of other rainfall looks to be several days out, as in coming close to the last week of June. Really not seeing anything in the way of moisture heading our direction. It'd be nice to have that, but we just don't see that taking place at this time, so not really seeing too much of any concern out there. While we've got the beginning of the starry skies, We have a late pass of the Chinese space station Tiangong-1. It'll be rising in the west-northwest at 10:45 Eastern time, and it'll be passing in just about 45 minutes and then passing over toward the east-northeast, fading as it goes into the constellation of Lyra the Harp. That right there is going to be easily seen because the bright star Vega, which I believe is only 26 light years away from Earth, you should be able to look in that general direction and see the Chinese space station pass in that general area before it starts to fade out. More information about, thanks to Stellarium for the backgrounds right there. You can plot out times, and I do, a screen grab out of this so that I can use this as a background so people know where they're looking and what the constellations are and which direction to be looking on the horizon. Stellarium's got this great website. You should really go check them out. Very easy to use, very handy to keep around and bookmark to see what's going on out there when it comes to satellite spotting. That can help you time out a lot of stuff. If you've got a telescope, they'll help you find out more about where to look for what particular objects out there. Really neat to be able to see that. So thanks to Stellarium for an absolutely excellent website. All right, let's get into the tropics before I get too far off topic here. We're looking for that storm system over Florida to scoot up the east coast from the outer banks of the Carolinas, Savannah, North and South Carolina on the coast, all the way up to Chesapeake Bay. I would be watching this. A lot of folks heading out for a beach vacation. At this time last year, I was over into North Carolina with my wife's relatives. Had a great time right along the North-South Carolina line. But that was beautiful, and it was sunny, and it was perfect, and nothing was going on. This, on the other hand, if this sits here and this develops, especially over the Gulf Stream, that motion might begin to give the potential of some more moisture heading into the coastline. So if I was taking a beach vacation, I would watch this area carefully. Again, canceling stuff, that's entirely up to you. But if you're going to remain on the vacation schedule and go to an area that has something this close by, I would have a plan B ready to go or be ready to turn back around again if this thing gets any stronger. Now, right now, the scale up here at the top showing this is a low probability. We're not seeing anything at this time to show a high probability. What we are showing, first of all, down in the Pacific, this one, I made a mistake last night. It is moving not northwest, but southeast. So this is going to be heading down toward Costa Rica, Nicaragua, south of Belize, toward Panama. So this is something, but right now, 20% chance of development in the next few days. The one off the East Coast, 20% chance of development in the next 1 to 7 days. So for the next week, it stays pretty steady, but there is still that possibility. Then you've got this one down in the Bay of Campeche, where you can get a decent amount of these storms forming. And this is what we really have to watch out for, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. You can start seeing some rotation coming together as that system is basically over the Yucatan Peninsula. That's going to be moving out into the waters of the Bay of Campeche. The Hurricane Center has given this a potential of, again, about a medium chance of developing, about a 40% chance, and that's as high as we've seen in the course of the last several days and weeks, ever since we got hurricane systems going since the month of June began and hurricane season actually began in earnest. The update for 8 p.m. holds it at 40%. So this is accurate as of just the last couple of hours. But here's why this is important. Notice again right to the south of the Rio Grande as this moves off the peninsula and toward the Bay of Campeche. What we are looking at, and this is nowhere even close to being good news, the temperatures of the waters, the sea surface temperatures are very, very warm. What we're looking at is, again, the darker red colors in the temperatures. These are all in Fahrenheit. This right here from the Bay of Campeche showing mid to upper 80s. right along the coast where that loop current goes. That is where we're seeing high 80s to lower 90 water temperatures right off the coast of Florida. That water again goes out between Florida and the Bahamas, and you can see just that little strip right there. That's the Gulf Stream, and that's some very warm water flowing up to the north and to the east. So again, Caribbean, Bahamas, Atlantic, Gulf, everything here is showing temperatures that are about as warm as they should be for late August. So we are already a good 2 months ahead of schedule where the temperature of the water is concerned. The ocean is trying to absorb as much heat from the atmosphere as fossil fuel caused climate change continues to get the temperatures of the air above the surface warmer. That also is a big bit of news. I'll show you that in just a minute as well. But right now, anything that develops here, I'm really looking at this area for what we can see in the next couple of days. So if you are going anywhere, say New Orleans, Houston, west toward, say, Corpus Christi, down toward Brownsville, if that's where your beach vacation is taking you, I would watch this system with a lot of interest in the next couple of days and be prepared to postpone things, maybe cancel them just to be on the safe side, depending on how bad this gets. But this is expected to head north and west, so somewhere between Louisiana and Mexico, right down along the Texas coast toward the Rio Grande. That is where we may be seeing some potential problems. So keep it tuned to News 12, and we'll keep you updated as to what we may be seeing in the course of the next several days and weeks. Again, really time to pay attention to what is going to be happening. And I cannot overemphasize this enough, because right now, this is just looking at some possible terrible trouble for these storms to undergo what is called RI, rapid intensification. And that is something that can really, really happen. It has happened. Matter of fact, Otis, that developed in the Pacific last year, went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 in less than 9 hours. And we could see that happen easily again. So it is something that we really need to pay attention to on that. And we will do that here at News 12 to keep you updated as to what might be happening at this point in time. All right, want to talk again. We mentioned this last night. I was off on the date. This is actually coming up a week from Sunday. National Lightning Safety Awareness Week will be June 23rd through 29th. Again, that brought to you by the National Lightning Safety Council and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the parent government branch of the National Weather Service. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated on that particular issue. World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought. That is coming up Monday, June 17th. If you'd like to know more about what we can all do to protect our planet and keep it a livable, breathable home for us in space, there's no planet B, so we need to be very careful about that. Follow more at the United Nations Environment Program, and of course the website you can get to there to find out more about what may be going on at that location. I do not see it. I know I had it in here someplace. Let me just scan through here. What we're looking for, I hope this is it. Let me take a look. Yes, this is it. Okay, so you think the temperatures here are bad. That's nothing. And this really makes me wistful. I haven't been back to San Francisco since 1985. That looks beautiful right now. Fog rolling in, a little bit of cool conditions. That was one chilly summer that I spent out there. But here's the problem, and they're not alone in this. Take a look down to the south into around portions of Mexico. This was, for the month of June of all time in Mexico, it was the hottest day ever recorded for the month of June in the country of Mexico, in the northwest province of Sonora, and it was the hottest day ever recorded in the state of Sonora. So incredible to see some of these readings right there. Rodolfo Valdez at 123, Plutarco at 124.5, and El Cubil, hope I'm saying that correctly, 125.4, the hottest of the hot. That from Extreme Temps on X/Twitter. And wasn't alone in that. That was absolutely something to take a look at. Let me see if I can get the information back up here for a second. because this is really just absolutely mind-blowing to see what actually happened here. Yeah, okay, here we go. This is really incredible because this was the temperatures into it's coming up on summer in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it's autumn and heading toward winter. Dozens of record highs were set across South America today, including Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, several other places, looking at temperatures easily into the 70s and the 80s, where they should be cooling off at that point in time. Dozens of records in Argentina alone, including Buenos Aires, with temperatures above 20 degrees Celsius. Uruguay, 22.1. Again, that's roughly in the 70s if my Fahrenheit to Celsius brain considers that. Just a little bit. Paraguay, hottest June night all time. A minimum low temperature of 27 degrees. That was just about 80, 81 degrees at Pratt's Gill in South America. And again, this is wintertime heat that we're looking at here. So it wasn't just Mexico. It was all over the place that hotter weather was showing up. So that is just absolutely worrisome and just absolutely incredible to be able to see stuff like that happening. Not good news for, again, climate change. That's showing that we are going in the absolute, very much complete and total wrong direction to see that many high temperatures being broken out there over a good portion of the globe. Some good news where it comes to severe weather. If you've never heard about this before, this has been taking shape over the course of the last several days, weeks, and months from the NOAA National Severe Storms Laboratory. A little bit more about getting lead times where it comes to severe weather purposes. The system is called Warn on Forecast, or just plain old WOF. Woof, maybe that'd be a better way of pronouncing it. This is from, again, the people who study severe weather to see how things work and how we can better inform people about what's going on. This system is designed to increase lead time for all severe weather warnings, and is a really neat idea to see how this is done. It basically takes continuous probabilistic predictions of hazards in individual thunderstorms. A lot of computer processing power goes into this, and you can find out more. And this is the really cool thing. Again, it was employed during those tornadoes. You may have seen those tornadoes up in Iowa about a month or so ago, where the wind turbine got sheared and those semi-trucks got thrown off the roadway, and those farmhouses got hit by several tornadoes at once, rotating around a common center. Well, they tested it out, and the warnings that were given from this system gave over an hour lead time to show what was going on. That is incredible. That is really good news because, again, used to be you couldn't see a tornado coming until it was dropping out of the storm, and at nighttime, next to impossible to see anything like that. Even with radar in its infancy, it was difficult to see the structure on the radar, and then you had things like Doppler, NEXRAD radar. This whole system takes a look at how to get the forecast warnings out by looking at characteristics of the storm. Is it increasing in strength? Is it gaining a lot more moisture due to a flow coming in one direction or the other? Is dry air interfering? Is the storm system dropping in intensity down toward the ground? Is there no more upward motion? How's the lightning doing? Things like that. If you'd like to see this for yourself, they can have a section there, and they have linked to the system. Now, right now, I couldn't get it to focus on anything else but the high plains. So Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico. But the parameters are all selectable here to see what goes on. You can take a look at, again, severe situation, rotation, lightning, heavy amounts of rainfall, the general overall environment. This is really, really cool. This is the type of stuff that I wish I had a long time ago during things like the tornado of Fort Smith back in 1996. So if you'd like to see this, all the information is available from the National Severe Storms Laboratory at nssl.noaa.gov. That's the National Severe Storms Laboratory. Really cool place to visit if you have the chance to do so. And numbers, again, on this could help save lives down the road. So please consider taking a look at that. Very cool to take a look at there if you're a severe weather enthusiast like I am. Coming up next Saturday and Sunday, not this Saturday and Sunday, but the 22nd and 23rd. Amateur radio operators all around the world will be in a competition to connect and communicate with other amateur radio operators on a lot of different modes, whether it comes to Morse code or voice, sideband as it is called, single sideband, and also on digital modes. It is a really cool opportunity to practice to be out in the field should a disaster strike. That's the neat thing about amateur radio operators. They are prepared to go for long periods of time on alternate sources of power to help out their communities. I've seen a lot of people say, okay, I've got this. What do we need amateur radio for? Because after a storm, all I'm going to do is pick up the phone and order a pizza, and I'll be just fine. This is an antique. We don't need it, blah, blah, blah. No, really, you think about it, and if we have a big enough disaster, you may not be able to contact your local pizza store and get a pizza delivered anytime soon because of debris hampering travel, because cell phone towers may be inoperative, powered down, or gone. You may not be able to contact your relatives and your loved ones to say, hey, I'm in the middle of this mess, I'm okay. Amateur radio operators can handle getting messages in and out of a certain location and are the first line of defense when things go wrong. When September 11th, 2001 happened, they were some of the first ones to step in and run the 911 emergency call system when the towers on the radio towers, communication towers on top of the World Trade Center went down. They stepped in to route calls as to where they needed to go to. So it's really fun to be an amateur radio operator. Yes, I am one. Guilty as charged. I love being a ham radio operator. I got my license from the Delta Amateur Radio Club back in Bartlett, Tennessee in February of 2000. So I'm coming up on my 25th anniversary of being a ham radio operator. I believe the quiz costs $15 to take the license test from the FCC. And if you want to find out where, if you're looking around this next Saturday and Sunday, again, next Saturday and Sunday, and you see a bunch of tents set up in like a city park or around just an area that usually doesn't have people camping out, and you see a lot of radio equipment, drop by, ask questions, find out more about amateur radio, look at what they're doing, and if you'd like to get yourself or your kids involved, it's a great opportunity to ask questions of the operators. How did they get involved in stuff like this? So really cool, again, to be able to see this. And this is where, from arrl.org, find out more where the amateur radio operators will be operating. They'll have a map available with the clubs that will be able to show their location if you want to find out what's closest to you and show up and ask questions. Now, to that point, and again, all this is going to be on my social media pages for the next few days. Locally, and thanking the Cleveland Amateur Radio Club, CARC.cc, for a website address, they are going to have a free open house 1-hour ham radio tutorial next week, right before field day gets into operation. Now, they will be having lunch right afterwards. So they are asking, please, if you want to come, great. But if you're going to be there and have lunch, please RSVP no later than Wednesday, June 19th. And you'll be able to ask questions of people, see what the quiz is all about. You'll be able to find out more about the equipment. It's not as expensive as you think, and some of the older equipment that amateur radio operators use, they typically tend to keep them in pristine condition. And when somebody else comes along that might need it, sometimes they part with their equipment to say, okay, I used it, this is how you can get started, here you go. Not everybody does that, so just warning that don't go expecting a free handout of a bunch of equipment. But it is something that might be able to get information from people. When you've been in amateur radio for a very long time, you have a nickname of being an Elmer. So go find an Elmer. Go find out more about amateur radio. Cleveland at 560 Johnson Boulevard Southeast, Cleveland, Tennessee, noon to 1 p.m. And again, if you're going to attend and have lunch, RSVP at their website. The story and the contact information is on their front page. RSVP by Wednesday, June 19th, and find out more at carc.cc. I've made the mistake of doing a .com yesterday. It is not .com, it is .cc. So Cleveland Amateur Radio Club, carc.cc, to find out more details about what may be going on. It's not just, and a lot of people think of amateur radio operators as being asocial tweakers. It's not that way. Amateur radio operators are some of the most friendly, knowledgeable, straightforward, very involved in their community type people. And if you have a question, there's going to be someone who's going to be able to answer it. Maybe somebody's involved in Morse code. Maybe somebody's involved in electronic safety. Maybe somebody's involved in testing and knowing the rules. Everybody's got a specialty function, and everybody can help out when it's a great big community, and it's really neat to be able to take advantage of that. So if you'd like to know more, if your kids, your grandkids, your students would like to know more about amateur radio, this might be a good place to get started. And these folks can help out whether you are just calling on a regular night like this and asking questions about how's the weather around the corner or around the world. You can operate on very low power using a specific type of antenna, and also, again, making certain everything is aimed and powered the right way. I don't have time to go into it right now. I'm a klutz with electronics, so I depend on other people. My wife won't let me work with power tools for some odd reason. I don't know why. But in the meantime, if you'd like to know more, one great place to learn about, and I'll have to do a What I Want to Know show on this coming up tomorrow so people can see more about that in the near future. So please check it out and find out more details about what you can look for and the questions you can ask, all sorts of neat things on there. All right, we've been going for just about 30 minutes. Nobody on the chat function asking any questions at this point, so good news on that. See if we can go ahead and finish up here in just a little bit. That's not the right graphic. That's a work in progress, unfortunately. Don't forget the Chinese space station, again, will be flying overhead 10:45 as of right now. That's just shy of half an hour away. So look to the northwest, going to the northeast, and hopefully we'll be able to see that, hopefully rising over Lookout Mountain from our point of view. We'll see if we can get that here in just a little while. All right, covering a whole bunch of topics. And don't forget that if you'd like to see our blog, all you have to do is go to our weather app, download it for your particular device, and you can also find me on all of these websites. So if you want to drop by, ask a question, you can find me out there on various locations. And again, watching Weather Overtime, wherever you go, it's available through the app. All you have to do is go to the Weather Overtime section and find out more. So great opportunity again to see more about that. Think that should do it for tonight. Chip Chapman will be in bright and early Friday morning to give you his version of the into the weekend forecast. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow night to give you an idea as to what's going on with the updated forecast for the nighttime schedule. Whoops, one more thing, almost forgot. Our friend, two more things actually. Hang on just 1 second here. From the, I think it was the Nature Conservancy I picked this up from, but something to take a look at. Our weather poll of the day brought to you by friendinroofing.com. Cities produce a lot of waste. Humans produce a lot of waste in general. And if you take the waste that has come out of cities, and we're talking about chemical, biological, breaking up ships and breaking up playground equipment and shipping containers and all that waste gets processed. It has to use energy to get processed. By 2025, the amount much more than 2009, but how much? Will that increase twice, 3 times, 4 times, or 10 times? And the correct answer, Andrew Harrison got this tonight. 43% of you said 3 times. That is, in fact, actually correct. And that is something to really take a look at because we generate a lot of waste. We're coming up on 1 billion tons of waste dumped just this year, and that is from the worldcounts.com. And if you'd like to know more about all the waste that we waste, well, there's all kinds of stuff, information that you can find out on that and how we can start reducing the amount of waste and start working our way toward a circular economy. That sounds like a very good idea if we want to keep our home very much our home and safe place to live in. Thanks to News 12 viewer Chris McKeever from Fort Oglethorpe. Kind of hard to see there, but you got Mama Bear and 3 cubs over in that general area by the stacked up logs. So nice little wildlife view for our Langley Roofing weather window picture of the day. If you'd like to see the pictures that everybody else is submitting, go to our website, wdef.com/photos. You can also see them. We post them to our social media pages, or you can just email them to us if you just want to cut out those middle sites right there, pictures@wdef.com. And yours could be the next Langley Roofing weather window picture of the day. And thanks to everybody for sending in some amazing pictures. Thank you very much to everybody for sending that information in. Really glad to be able to see that. All right, thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to everybody else for keeping track of what's going on with the weather in the area by tuning in to Weather Overtime. Gone about 40 minutes tonight. I think that's a new record for us. That's something else. We'll have more again tonight on News 12 at 11, and I'll be back tomorrow evening for more details as well. So, live and direct from downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee, I'm Chief Meteorologist from the News 12 studios right along Broad Street. Stay tuned for more with News 12 on air and online, and we'll see you again on Friday.